Rome liked to tell the world that it was civilized, lawful, and magnanimous. But when it came to captured queenswomen who embodied resistance, sovereignty, and humiliation of Roman power, the punishment was often theatrical, cruel, and designed to send a message far beyond the individual. These women were not treated simply as prisoners of war. They were symbols, and Rome understood the power of symbols better than almost any empire in history. When a queen fell into Roman hands, her fate became a public lesson in what happened to those who dared to challenge Roman supremacy. Sometimes that lesson was death, sometimes slow degradation, sometimes a lifetime of erasure, but almost always it involved stripping her of dignity before stripping her of life or freedom. One of the most infamous examples is Cleopatra, VII of Egypt, whose end is often romanticized, but was rooted in the brutal logic of Roman punishment. After the defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra by Octavian at Actium, Cleopatra understood exactly what awaited her if she were taken alive to Rome. Roman triumphs were elaborate victory parades where defeated kings and queens were dragged through the streets in chains, forced to walk before cheering crowds while the Roman general basked in glory. Cleopatra knew she would be displayed not as the powerful ruler of Egypt, but as a defeated trophy, humiliated before the Senate and the people. For a queen who had ruled one of the richest kingdoms in the Mediterranean, this fate was worse than death. Her suicide was not a romantic gesture of love, but a final act of defiance against Roman punishment culture. By dying on her own terms, she denied Octavian the ultimate symbol of victory. Rome punished her anyway by erasing her dynasty, executing her son, Caesarion, and turning Egypt into a Roman province. Not all queens were able to escape Rome's grasp so completely. Zenobia of Palmyra, the warrior queen who dared to carve out an empire in the East during Rome's crisis in the 3rd century, was captured by Emperor Aurelian after her defeat. Roman sources differ on her fate, and that uncertainty itself reveals Rome's conflicted approach to punishing powerful women. According to one version, Zenobia was paraded in Aurelian's triumph, weighed down with golden chains so heavy that attendants had to support her. This was classic Roman punishment, public humiliation, as spectacle. The crowd was meant to see not just a defeated enemy, but the reduction of a queen to a prop in Rome's self-glorification. Other sources claim Aurelian spared her life, granting her a villa and allowing her to live as a Roman matron. If true, this mercy was itself a form of punishment. Zenobia the queen became Zenobia the subject, stripped of power, her identity reshaped to fit Roman ideals of subdued femininity. Whether humiliated in chains or neutralized through forced assimilation, her punishment served Rome's narrative that resistance was futile. Boudica of the Iceni offers another perspective, one shaped by the terror Rome inspired even before capture. When Roman officials flogged Boudica and raped her daughters, they were not merely enforcing authority, they were delivering a warning to every client ruler in Britain. Although Boudica ultimately avoided capture by taking poison after her rebellion failed, Roman retaliation against her people shows how Rome punished queens even in absence. Thousands of Iceni were slaughtered, lands confiscated, and local autonomy destroyed. The queen's body escaped Rome, but her legacy was crushed beneath military boots and administrative reforms. The message was clear. If a queen challenged Rome, her people would pay the price whether she lived or died. Queens from the Hellenistic world often faced a fate tied to Roman obsession with triumphs. The triumph was both religious ritual and political theater, and defeated royalty played a central role. Jugurtha's wife and children were dragged to Rome during his triumph, and while Jugurtha himself was executed, the humiliation of his family was part of the punishment. Queens were displayed in foreign dress, sometimes forced to wear exaggerated or exoticized clothing to emphasize their otherness. The crowd's laughter and mockery were weapons as sharp as any sword. After the triumph, many captives were quietly executed or imprisoned until death, their usefulness as symbols exhausted. Some queens were punished not through immediate violence, but through slow erasure. Rome frequently separated captured queens from their children, raised royal heirs in Rome, and educated them in Roman ways. On the surface, this looked like mercy, but it was a calculated strategy. By Romanizing the next generation, Rome destroyed the cultural memory and political legitimacy of conquered dynasties. A queen who survived captivity might live long enough to watch her lineage dissolve into Roman citizenship, her royal bloodline diluted and neutralized. This was punishment by absorption, a subtler but devastating tool of empire. In certain cases, Rome used sexual violence and forced marriage as punishment, though Roman historians often glossed over these details. A captured queen could be handed over to a Roman noble as a concubine or wife, her body becoming another conquered territory. This practice reinforced Roman dominance while erasing the queen's former status. To Rome, the forced domestication of a queen symbolized the taming of a wild land. She was no longer a ruler. She was a possession. Queens who resisted even in captivity faced harsher ends. Execution methods varied, but strangulation in prison was common for royal captives after triumphs. This method, used on kings as well, denied the condemned a public martyr's death while still ensuring finality. For women, execution carried additional stigma, as Roman society expected female submissiveness. A defiant queen violated not only political norms, but gender norms, making her punishment feel justified to Roman audiences. Religion also played a role in how Rome punished captured queens. Foreign queens were often associated with strange gods and exotic rituals, which Roman writers portrayed as decadent or dangerous. By punishing these women, Rome symbolically punished the gods they represented. Temples were destroyed, priesthoods dismantled, and sacred traditions outlawed. The queen, as both political and religious figure, was crushed to demonstrate the superiority of Roman gods and Roman order. The phrase "and more" fits well, because Rome's methods extended beyond queens to noblewomen, princesses, and female leaders who challenged imperial authority. Their stories are often fragmented, filtered through male Roman historians, who minimized their suffering or reframed it as necessary justice. Yet, when these accounts are read closely, a consistent pattern emerges. Rome feared powerful women because they disrupted the narrative of Roman masculinity and control. Punishing queens was not just about revenge. It was about restoring a cosmic order in which Rome sat at the center and all others, especially defiant women, were reduced to silence. What makes Rome's punishment of captured queens especially chilling is its precision. Rome understood psychology, optics, and memory. A queen's death was rarely random. It was timed, staged, and contextualized to reinforce Roman dominance. If she died too quickly, Rome lost a symbol. If she lived too freely, she became a legend. So Rome balanced cruelty and calculation, ensuring that each queen's fate served the empire's long-term interests. Even mercy, when shown, was strategic. Allowing a queen to live under Roman supervision created a living reminder of Roman power. Her survival became proof of Roman generosity, while her lack of authority proved Roman control. In this way, punishment was flexible, adaptable, and deeply political. Rome did not simply defeat queens, it rewrote their stories. In the end, Rome's treatment of captured queens reveals an empire obsessed with dominance, not only over land and armies, but over identity, gender, and memory. These women were punished because they embodied an alternative vision of power, one that did not originate in Rome. By humiliating, executing, or erasing them, Rome reinforced its claim that there was only one center of the world and only one acceptable form of rule. Yet the very fact that these queens are still remembered today suggests that Rome's punishments were not entirely successful.